Hey, it's Mike Draper with AWC TV. Exciting episode today. We have DJ Carroll from Louisville, Kentucky with us today. It's going to be a super show. You're going to want to pay attention. DJ's always dropping knowledge, and we're hoping that he does so today. DJ, thanks for coming on board today. Really appreciate you taking some time out, being with us today, and discussing some things.
Absolutely, Mike. Thanks for having me on, buddy.
No problem. So, man, you're a busy guy. So you've got, you're a keynote speaker, motivational speaker, you're a coach, you do some advertising for different firms and things like that. And then you run a pressure washing company. So when do you sleep?
About 5 to 6 hours every night. So it's pretty important. So I try to get it in pretty regularly, try to stick to a pretty tight schedule.
Yeah, very good. What's if you a lot of us have multiple things going on, many irons in the fire. If you had to hone in on one thing and say, you know what, this is just really my passion. I love doing this. Maybe it doesn't pay the best at this point in time, but this is what I love. What would it be?
I remember in school they used to always say, the way that you find your passion is you pick that thing that, if money wasn't an object, you never had to worry about money, what's the one thing you would do for free for the rest of your life? And so it's this, man, either being in front of camera or, being on stage. Being on stage is just absolutely amazing. There's no other feeling in the world like that. I know I'm one of those weird people that statistics say that 99% of Americans are more afraid of public speaking than death. But for me, it's just not true, man. I get jacked up. I love speaking. I've spoke. Gosh, I've probably been on stage close to 50 times. And I couldn't even tell you hundreds of videos that I've done, because honestly, Mike, it's not even about just the speaking side. For me, I just think it's so cool that I can take a concept or an idea or something that I've learned, I can transition that into words, project it out to someone. They can then receive it into their mind and then actually put it into action into real life. And then that create positive change either in their business, their finances, their relationships, maybe their environment, any of the things that, I could affect what I call the pillars of life. To me, man, there's just no greater gift on earth. I really believe that I was gifted by God, the universe, whoever it may be, my upbringing, to be able to communicate with people, be a likable person, and then give them the knowledge that I've just been able to obtain. So if I had to pick one thing to do that I'm super passionate about, it's just being able to help people through communicating with them either via stage or, thankfully, the internet and cameras.
Yeah, well, good. That's good. I've seen you speak several times. You do a nice job with that, and keep the audience engaged. And you're a fun speaker. So your business that you have there, your pressure washing business. I seen a recent post by you that said, at first, I really didn't necessarily have it figured out. I was kind of going through the motions, and then finally, something clicks. And I think that's the way it is for a lot of entrepreneurs. And you might agree with me or disagree, but I think that there is this. I try to tell guys all the time. You hear all the systems and the millionaires and all this stuff, and what kind of gets left out of the picture is, because it's not very glorious, is in the beginning there is a grind. There is a grind that you go through, and sometimes you don't have all the pieces figured out, but you're still grinding it out. And then hopefully at some point that magic light bulb moment comes on. But it's real. I mean, it's real having to put those pieces together in the beginning.
Absolutely, man. And it's a grind in the beginning, but fuck, man, I think it never stops being a grind if you truly have it in your heart, because that's the power of being able to create something, right? Which is what entrepreneurs do. I truly believe that problems are solved because of entrepreneurship. Normally, and I hate to say all the times, right? Because Bruno Burchard says, if you're going to say all the time or everything, be prepared to bring me a list. So for most people that work that 9-to-5 job, their mindset is in a completely different place. And now listen, I'm really in the same ballpark as Gary Vee when he says that, entrepreneurship, sure, you can learn it, right? There's skill sets that you need to be able to learn, but there's certain innate traits that people are born with. And William Marston taught us this, which, I talk about that stuff in my personality training seminars. But there's certain things that you're born with. We all have a genetic makeup and personality styles. And so for me, I think I'm very blessed with the right personality style. I got a good set of chops that I'm a good salesperson. That's very, very important. And the grind that you talk about, and you do this thing for so long, and then like one day you're like, wait, the cloud's clear, and you're like, I can see it now. I understand what I need to be able to do. And I tell people all the time, you don't know what you don't know. And that's the biggest thing that holds people back, is because if you don't know of a problem, how could you possibly ever expect yourself to know the solution to the problem that you don't even know exists yet? And so, I think that a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, when they get started into something, and, whether it be power washing or window cleaning or, making donuts, it doesn't matter. Whatever you get started in, you don't realize that it's going to take some time, unless, here's the key, unless you have so much capital that's backing you that you literally just throw money at your problems. Okay.
Right.
That was probably the first breakthrough that I realized, was that if I made money, some problems go away. Like, if you don't want to do invoicing, accounts receivables, accounts payables, and I see guys complaining about this all the time. It's like, I can't keep up. I'm working all day and I'm coming in the office all night. Hire somebody. Pay somebody 15, 16, 17, 18 bucks an hour to do your bookkeeping on a freelance basis, and let them work 15 hours a week, and that problem's gone. But what most people do is, because they bring their broke mentality from being an employee, or, like, I started my first business straight out of high school, but it's like that same mentality of like that blue collar working class family of like, you live in scarcity. Like, there's never enough money. Like, we're one disaster away from the lights getting shut off. They bring that mindset into entrepreneurship, and it doesn't work, man. That is where I see a lot of guys screwing up, is because, and we're in a PC world now, so guys and gals, but it's I see a lot of people screwing up because they don't want to spend the money, but they don't realize that that's what makes the problems go away. So some of that proverbial grind that we talk about could dissipate if people would just stop having that broke mentality, and realize that the freedom of entrepreneurship is you have uncapped potential. I just think those are a few things that a lot of people, when they get into business, they don't realize. I had a guy, for instance, I do like 15-minute free coaching calls, a one-time call. If you've never talked to me before, I'll do a 15-minute deep dive with you, try to help you out. It's just my way of giving back. I didn't have anybody like that when I was starting, so I kind of want to be that person for other people. The guy started, he worked at a factory job for 2 years. He was just starting his power washing business. He was going full-time this year. And he told me something, Michael, and this is really important, because if your listeners are catching themselves saying this, it's kind of a red flag. He said, DJ, I'm great if you put the power washer wand in my hand. I'm a great cleaner, man. I'm fantastic. But when it comes to like sales and marketing and like doing the books and all that, like, I'm just, man, I don't know. That's scary when I hear that from people, because what I'm hearing there is that you're really, really good and really happy with being a technician, but you're not good at being a business owner. Right. And you're trying to force yourself to be a business owner. And so that's where some of that self-awareness stuff comes in. And, it's always tough, because when you hear that, you don't want to shit on a guy's dreams, right? I tell him, like, hey, man, you might want to partner up with somebody or look at some different options. But it's super important to just understand who you are and what makes you happy and what makes you passionate, and understand that it's not for everybody, but I highly encourage everybody to try it.
Yeah. Let's delve into that little problem there that you mentioned just for a second, to give kind of a real life example here, because there is a mentality out there that exists that just a guy, let's just take the office person, for instance, and I don't want to call it a small time mentality, but just a mentality that exists for guys that start out, is they naturally want to do everything themselves, because they think that they will make more money that way, right? They get to keep the whole nut. But I've always kind of encouraged, you see if you agree with this, but let's just say a business is doing $100,000 a year. And let's just, for all giggles and laughs purposes, let's just say there's a $100,000 nut there. We won't consider expenses and all that. So just there's $100,000 there. Yeah, just easy money. All right. And you have a person that you could put in the office for, say, $10,000 a year. Most people will look at it and they'll think, well, if I do it all myself, I keep the 100. And what they fail to realize is what they really paid themselves to do that work was $10,000, which they're worth way more than, right? It's the same thing as a technician. If I go out and I could have paid a guy $15 an hour to do the work and I was billing $85 an hour, I only made $15 an hour because that's what I could have, that's what I could have done the work or subbed the work to somebody else for. That's all I made. Everything else was mine to begin with, right? The $85 was mine anyway. I was going to make that anyway because I'm the business owner. So there is a mentality of not wanting to give up that 15, but if you don't, first of all, you'll never scale. You just won't. You can't. There won't be enough sustainable margin in the whole thing for you to scale up, and eventually or not even eventually, that's just all you'll be. And if that's your business model, that's great. But if you're wanting to scale, you're wanting to put people on, you got to be willing to give up some of that nut.
And I think that's you. So you just tapped into what I was going to catch you on there is it depends on what you want.
Yeah.
That's like, no, I don't think anyone ever sits down and has that conversation with themselves. Honestly, Mike, you're like, you do a lot of things. When do you sleep? Listen, man, I probably 10 to 15 hours a week I spend in complete isolation just thinking. And I know it sounds crazy and like they're probably going to like come haul me away one day, but because to me, I can run so many different scenarios in my mind and figure out if they're good moves or not. I think people don't do that. And that's a level of consciousness, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm at a level in my life where I'm at a level in the stage of consciousness where I can do hours and hours of thinking, planning out different scenarios, running different, it's almost like programs, like layers and layers of programs is all our life is. And so I'll run layers and layers of programs and I'll say which ones work and which ones don't. And I would rather figure it out up here than try to go do it in real life because I can do it a lot faster in my head than I can in real life. And I don't think people do that. Now, I don't think that's their fault. I just think that self-awareness, consciousness, mental health, things like that, they're starting to become more popular, but especially like in a blue collar type of industry, which is like power washing. And, I was in lawn and landscaping was my first business. We grew that to $3 million in revenue and sold it in 2016. But, before we got into the power washing, but it was never like, what are you talking about, dude? You're getting too touchy feely for me, right? Like I'm just a blue collar guy. We just fucking work. I think the challenge is everybody was like caught on this like life purpose and what I want to do. They don't ever spend any time actually figuring that out, right? Like when somebody comes to me and they're like, DJ, I don't know what I want out of life. I'm like, all right, how many hours have you spent actually thinking about it? Well, I don't know. A lot of times what they do is they get caught thinking about just like what they don't have. They get stuck just thinking about their current situation, their current scenario versus playing different levels that they could go to. So to your point, if you want to be the one-man band, and in my personal opinion, I think the most profitable, okay, and we'll have to talk about this, but the most profitable business model in exterior cleaning, meaning power washing, roof cleaning, the soft washing, all that kind of stuff, I truly believe the most profitable business model is being self-employed. So, sure. Going from being an employee to self-employed, that's the most profitable when we're talking about percentages, right? Because you're doing it all yourself.
Yeah.
And here's where I really love it is that if you're the kind of guy that, you hate your job, it's dead-ended, your wife is already at home taking care of the family, you guys can team up together and work in the business together. And, you can do $150,000 to $175,000 a year and then take home probably close to 100 to 120 of that. So, and have the time freedom of being an entrepreneur. Like if you don't want to work for a week, you just don't put anything on schedule for a week. But I caution people because those 15-minute phone calls I was telling you about that I have, here's what I get a lot of. Hey, man, I've been working a job for the past 2 years. We're crushing it. We did like $80,000 last year, me and a helper. And I'm gonna put out a crew, and actually I'm thinking about launching 2 crews this year. And I'm like, whoa, you haven't even done a full year in business on your own, and you're talking about like launching crews and having employees. It's like, do you have an employee manual? Oh, no. Do you have all your systems documented? No. Do you have all your processes? Do you know all your vendors? Do you know how you're going to do your accounting, your purchasing, your AP, your AC? Like, there's so much to it. And I think there's just a lot of noise out there right now that's like, you got to grow, you got to grow, you got to grow. Dude, business is a long-term game. This entrepreneur shit, you get to play this until you're like 80. Like, this isn't like the NFL where at 30, you're old, ragged, wore out. Like, I'm 30, and I'm just getting started in this stuff. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they get caught up in this mix of like, you got to grow, you got to grow, you got to grow, that they're like, oh, okay, let's just do it. And what happens is they start growing an unprofitable business. And that's a very, very slippery slope to get on. Here's the trick. We live in a world now that because of the internet, just like what we're doing here, I mean, I'm in my office. I don't even, where are you guys based out of?
Illinois, Bloomington, Illinois. So we're not far from you.
So State Farm headquarters. We do a lot of work with State Farm, but we're able to connect like this. Okay. I probably have 7 meetings a week just like this with my team all over the place. We've got people in Indonesia. I got copywriters in the UK. We have people local here in Louisville that I'll meet with like this because it's faster than trying to actually set up a meeting and have them come to the office. So where my point is like that $10,000 a year girl in the office could actually maybe be a $4,000 a year girl that works from home.
Absolutely.
And so, people have to start looking at how you can use all the resources around you. I like this analogy. Don't be the caveman that's the only one without fire. Right? Like, don't be that last guy to adapt. It's like, no, I like eating raw food. It's like, no, bro, you probably should cook the shit. It's like you have to be able to use all your tools around you. To me, that's like step number 1 of being a successful entrepreneur is using all of your resources.
Yeah. Good. So you talk about coaching a lot, and when guys come to you and maybe let's just play a scenario. Let's say, hey, everything's going really well. Maybe they're at that $100,000 to $200,000 mark in their business, and they're wanting to kind of move it up to get up to that $500,000 range. What's the process for coaching? I mean, coaching gets a bad rap, and a lot of people. And I know that in my business when I had it. I kind of maybe had that negative attitude towards coaching too until the last 4 years. And then once I started talking to some people and I started getting some more well-roundedness, it really like opened up some things. So what can a coach do for somebody, I guess is the question. What do you,
So I actually, just because of my workload, I used to do long-term coaching, like 6-month commitments, 9-month commitments, 12-month commitments. Now, because of my time commitments in my business, I don't have that capacity anymore. So I just do like one-off, we call them timeouts. So it's a timeout with coach, much like a business, a team would call a timeout to swing momentum. Maybe you're stuck somewhere. But when I used to do long-term coaching, a lot of times I would tell people about the story of my first coach. Chuck Bauer was my very first sales coach. I was 21 years old. I remember I had started my business, and actually when I was 19, I went on YouTube and I was like, I got to figure out how to sell. I'm going door to door, but there's got to be a better way. So I went to YouTube University, and I'm on there and I'm searching, how do you sell, sales tactics, sales training, and I find Chuck. Chuck became a really good mentor of me for probably about 5 years. We worked together, and he was like $1,000 a month. Mm-hmm. And I remember at the time he was like, it's $6,000. We just bill it to a credit card. Everything's due in advance. And I felt like such a loser, Michael, honestly, because I had to tell this guy, I was like, I'm 21, man. I don't have a credit card with $6,000 on it. Like I didn't have the credit limit of $6,000 to give the guy. Right. And so we did post-dated checks, 6 of them for $1,000 a month. He let me do it. But what I learned from that, man, like, I can't even tell you the multiple that I returned off of it. It's the same thing with a book, right? And so that's when people are like, oh, you're Coach Carroll, you do a lot of coaching. I really don't do a lot of coaching as the traditional sense of like, hey, we're going to have a session, I'm going to coach you. Because to me, if I make a video, I'm coaching. If we're doing this, I'm coaching. And it comes from all the sports that I played in school of like, your coach's job is to, one, get in your ass, get you up, get you rolling, get you hustling. Like, that's number one. Because if you don't have that ambition and that drive, dude, you can have all the skills in the world, you can have all the talent in the world, but you're not gonna be able to achieve or out-achieve the guy that's gonna hustle you, right? There's that saying that hustle beats talent when talent doesn't hustle. And so I live by that. So like, that was like always my first thing. The second thing is a good coach is going to give you new skills. So like new skill sets. And so that may be like for sales training, for instance, that might be new prospecting skills, right? We have a thing I found, I love giving out nuggets, so I'll give this one out. I found a new thing called Slide Broadcast the other day. It's like 4 cents a voicemail. We sent out like 900 of them, cost me like $40. And, we got like 12 jobs in off of our current book of business. And I was like, yo, that is sweet, right? And so like giving new tools, new strategies, new tactics, things that you can implement in your business, that's the second most important thing, in my opinion, for coaching. Lastly is what most people need more than anything, and that's accountability. Yep. Because as an entrepreneur, a lot of times we don't have anybody to hold ourselves accountable. Often we might look to like our wives or our girlfriends or our fiancés or significant others. The problem is those people love you, and the people that love you have a really, really hard time holding your feet to the fire because they don't want to hurt your feelings. They don't want to offend you. So a coach or an accountability squad is an absolute must for entrepreneurs. And so for me, getting you fired up, getting you ready to go and hustle and firing up that ambition and that drive, giving you new skills, and then ultimately holding you accountable. Those are the 3 things. And it doesn't matter if you hire me, you hire there's a million other coaches out there. Look for those 3 things. Check references. So like, you want to make sure they've actually worked with some clients and got some really good results. And then if you got all of that, pull the trigger, because nobody, they can take your house, they can take your clothes, they can take your vehicle. Nobody can take anything from the inside of here. Yeah. And so once you work with a coach and you get that stuff, it's almost like the Matrix. Remember, like they used to like go on that machine and like download the programs. That's what coaching does. And so I just wish that people didn't have the stigma. Here's the last thing, Mike. I'll kick it back to you. Here's the number one challenge that I see with people that don't move forward with coaching. Has nothing to do with the coach. It has everything to do with their lack of belief in themselves.
Yeah. There's something too to be said about, I like to, you mentioned sports, and a coach or, a trainer or however you want to position it. I'm pretty sure that Tiger Woods' coach or his instructor that he is with, I'm pretty sure Tiger Woods can beat him on the golf course.
Oh, yeah.
All right. But that's not what it's about. The coach is not about whether you can perform the job task better than the guy that's doing it. Because I hear that negativity. I'll hear it say, well, he can't be a good coach if he never built a business himself. Not necessarily. Tiger Woods' guy is not the best golfer, but what he does do is he's able to make Tiger Woods the best golfer he can be. And again, that's that fine tuning. That's that looking at stuff from a different perspective, holding their feet to the fire. You got to putt 100 times today. Well, he knows he needs to putt 100 times today, but if you don't have that guy saying he needs 100 times today, he won't do it, right? And so and you're right. You need somebody that'll hold your feet to the fire. And the people that we
I said check their references. Don't look at your and maybe look into the coach, right? Because I've got my own accolades, so I'll use that, right? But check your references as far as the people. Like, what I want to see, like, if I'm going to hire a coach, I want to see people that's like, oh, I worked with DJ, and in 6 months, or Chris Cole, for instance, is a guy used to work sales manager at a Cadillac dealership. Within 3 months, we had his efficiency increase 300%. Outback Gutterback, Ryan Fox, they're down in Atlanta. I started working with them 3 years ago when they were just starting to get into the business, and they're going to probably hit $1 million this year. Those are the things that you want to see, because it's like, you're right. I'm not going to look at Tiger Woods' coach and say, well, do you have a green jacket? Can you drive 300 yards? But I am going to say, who have you coached that can drive 300 yards?
Right, exactly. But it's to bring out the best in them. It's not necessarily that they're the best at doing it. And a basketball coach or anything else like that, that's not their job. They're not jobs not to go out there and play basketball better than Michael Jordan or somebody else, but it's to make Michael Jordan the best he can be, right? So, yeah, good. So, I think there's a lot of negativity about coaches, and I think you can really benefit and things like that. Absolutely.
There's negativity around everything.
That's true.
Most people just wake up negative, and that's another thing with entrepreneurship. Like if you can't stay in a positive mindset, you're so because things go bad every day. Like every single day, some shit's going to catch on fire. There's dumpster fires going on all over my life. But I can't go, there's dumpster fires everywhere. No. What my job is, this was the best analogy I'd ever heard. Imagine if your mom and dad was going to put the little kid to bed, and he looked at the little kid and he said, Billy, your dad just got laid off. And I don't think we're going to be able to go to the grocery this week, and we might lose the house. But you sleep tight tonight. Hopefully we'll get it all figured out. You can't do that, man. You've got to be the fearless leader. You got to make sure your team, and most importantly, you got to control this thing inside the 6 inches between your ears and tell it that everything's going to be okay because you're in control of your life. You determine what happens through action and through thinking out different scenarios that you can play. And that if you're going to be successful, it's up to you and nobody else.
Yep, exactly. If you had to give one person, it's springtime, right? Everybody's getting ready to. If you're in the Midwest, maybe it's still a little slow, but out in the southern states, it's starting to get warm. If you had one little marketing nugget to give somebody right now and said, "Hey, just it's springtime. Make sure you're doing this," what would it be?
So.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on board today.
No, I'm thinking because here's the thing, Michael, is that the guy that's like, because now everybody that's listening, they're like, what's he going to say? Here's the thing: if you're year 1, 2 in business, right, you're brand new, versus 10 years in business, it's going to be different, okay? Because obviously your marketing budget's going to be different. I'll give you my one thing is this. Work on your internal book of business, okay? And I've learned this from working with so many of my insurance clients and my ad tech company is like they focus on their current book of business. And every insurance agent you go to, their success of their business is like, how big's your book, right? And so with cleaning and window cleaners, power washing stuff, you may or may not have that reoccurring revenue, which is like strike number one against the business model. Now that I'm like seeing all these different businesses out here, I'm like, reoccurring revenue is like a must for me if I'm going to get another business. But one thing that you have to understand is I ran around for the first 5 years, out of high school with my first business with a notepad like this. And like, all right, Mrs. Johnson needs her yard cut, do it Thursday. Like Mrs. Johnson's phone number, her address, and I didn't even get an email address back then. So it's like, I don't know where those notebooks are at. So like the first 5 years of business, I don't even have that client data. So your customer's information, name, phone number, email address, to me, that is the most valuable asset in a business. If I'm looking to acquire a company, we bought a window cleaning company last year, 60% of my decision was made because they had 300 customers in their database. I'm like, cool, that's 300 people we can put into our marketable database. So that's why I said it's a little different. If you've been in business 10 years, like we've got over 2,000 clients in our database that we can hit with email, we can hit with direct mail, we can hit with these ringless voicemails, we can call them. We can pound away because now it grows what's called the LTV, which is the lifetime value of a customer. And so the more I can grow the lifetime value of the customer, the better my margins continue to get and the lower my customer acquisition cost gets. And Michael, I know you probably know this, but let's explain for the guys that are listening, maybe don't understand this. If you have a customer that you paid $10 to acquire and they spend $100, okay, your customer acquisition cost is $10. But if that customer comes back again and spent another 100, in my mind, you cut your customer acquisition cost in half. Because I understand some people would argue like, well, no, you still paid $10 to get the guy in the business. But if I can double the revenue I make off of that guy, ideally I could have spent twice as much for him in the beginning. And so I think guys get so caught up because they want to spend like, it blows my mind. People think you can spend like $300 a month on advertising and have this huge business. It doesn't happen. In the swing of things, in like the season, I'm spending like $100 to $150 a day on Facebook. We spend about $50 a day on Google AdWords a day. And so most people, that's like $3,000, $4,000 a month. It's like, yeah, how much did you think I was going to spend if I'm going to make 60 grand in a month? Like, people aren't just going to find you to just be finding you. And that's why you see the turnover in business, right? I think the SBA's got it wrong when they say that 80% of small businesses go out of business in the first 5 years due to undercapitalization. I think that statistic is ridiculously skewed. I want to see what the advertising budget was of those companies, because I think a lot of people will buy equipment, rent an office, sign a lease, get a truck, get shirts made, hats, everything. They're ready to rock and roll, maybe some yard signs, and then they're out of business 8 months later, and it's because they spent all that money, but they didn't do anything to tell the market who they were. Grant Cardone says all the time, if people don't know you, they can't spend their money with you. And so for me, I'm like, advertising and sales solves everything. You should be going, if it's like one thing you should do, it's like sell. From a marketing standpoint, your internal book of business. But lastly, man, I don't have one of my books here, but I just released a book called Phenomenal Phone Calls. If you're broke, if you're just getting started out, which means you have more time than you have money, you've got to learn to cold call. Because literally, if you're broke and you don't have any jobs to do, and it's Tuesday, and you're going to either eat Fruity Pebbles and play Xbox or dial on the phone, get your ass on the phone, because that's where you're going to be able to make things happen. And it's as simple as this. Ring, ring, ring. Yes, ABC Property Manager. Hey, how's it going? My name's DJ with Easy Pro. Look, I know you don't know me, and I know you're super busy. I'm going to be respectful of your time real quick. I was going to swing by there tomorrow and drop off a quote for you guys for your property. Just wanted to make sure the decision maker was going to be in the office. See, what most people do is they go, ABC Property Manager. Yeah, hey, hi. This is DJ with Easy Pro, and I was just calling. Do you guys need any pressure washing done? Oh, no, you don't. Click. Oh, well, I'm not doing cold calling anymore. It doesn't work. Come on, man. Because your skills don't work, right? Like, that's like trying to cross over in front of Kobe and he steals the ball. You can't just be like, well, I'm not crossing over. Crossovers don't work. No, you're just not as good as Kobe. So cold calling, if I had to say broad spectrum across the board, I would say cold calling is my go-to thing, because if you're broke, everybody's got a phone. Obama will give you one for free. You can pick up the phone and dial and get customers on the line and find people that need your service.
Yeah. You're a wealth of information. I appreciate you taking some time today to be with us. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, they like to...
anywhere on social media, # Coach Carroll. Are we done already? We're already out of time?
We are, man. We are. So you're just you went you did it. You covered it.
No, anywhere online, # Coach Carroll, CARROLL. You can find me on any social media platform. Just reach out to me and say, hey, follow me. I put content out on all the platforms. So, anything I can do to help anybody that's listening. It's my purpose in life, man. Listen, honestly, my purpose in life is to build an entrepreneur institute. I want to build a school that kids like me can go to, that when I was a senior in high school and I decided I didn't want to be a chemical engineer, I wanted to go start my own business. Instead of having my chemistry teacher and my guidance counselor tell me how it was a terrible idea, I wish they could have said, hey, here's this X-Men school for entrepreneurs. If that's really what you want to do, go over here for 10 weeks, learn the basics, learn what the Federal Reserve is, learn how money works, learn how to build a business plan. That way we'll set you up for success. It's almost like a trade school for business owners and entrepreneurs. That's my purpose. So everything that I'm doing in my early stages of life, man, and including this here, I appreciate you having me on, is just trying to give out more information to entrepreneurs, because the more entrepreneurs that are successful, I think the more they can give back, and the world will become a better place.
Well, man, hey, I wish you luck in that, and appreciate you taking some time to come out with us today and talk and give some nuggets to the audience. And we'll have you on again in the future. And thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy. Take care.
Stay tuned for our next episode of AWC TV by following us on YouTube, Facebook, or our website, awcmag.com.